So on Wednesday night, my husband and I took our usual walk around the neighborhood. The urgent call that summer brings to gather with friends is already upon us, especially after this past year. There were lots of extra cars parked on the street, lots of barbecues already fired up on a Wednesday night, and the sounds of conversation and laughter coming from backyards. As we approached the intersection near our house, we noticed these two standing on the corner. One tall and thin, cloaked in nondescript colors, and the other one more boldly dressed. They stood there on the corner by the signpost, looking at us. "Let's cross on the other side of the street," I said, glancing at them. My spouse agreed. "What are they doing there?" he asked. "No idea," I said, looking the strangers up and down. "They clearly don't belong here, not in this neighborhood." The next night, as we walked toward the corner, we couldn't believe it, but there they were again, in exactly the same spot. "What are they doing here?" I asked, and we both laughed. They were so ridiculous, like two low-rent criminals in a 1930s gangster movie casing the neighborhood from under the street lamp on the corner. Knuckleheads, we called them, and shook our heads. They'd been so out of place the evening before, and now they seemed comically so. We joked about them as we walked toward the park at the end of the street, crossing over the bridge there, never even glancing at the creek that flowed under us, as we were too busy thinking of these silly strangers who had found their way into our neighborhood. The next night, I, strangely enough, found myself looking forward to seeing them again. "Let's not cross on the other side of the street this time," I suggested. "Maybe we should say hello." But this time the strangers weren't there. "They've gone," my spouse said, and for a moment we felt sad. They'd startled us the first time we'd seen them, and then the next night we had laughed at how out of place they were. But now I longed to see them. We'd never even taken much time to consider why they were standing there on the corner in the first place. But as we got a few houses farther up the street, we saw them again, standing just off the sidewalk. This time we came close to them. "Hello," I said, and the colorful one looked at me. My spouse fumbled in his pocket. "We brought you some food." He laid it on the ground, but both just stared at us. "We should step further away," I whispered. We did so, and after staring at us for another moment, the colorful duck waddled quickly toward the food, picked up a piece of it, tested it on his palate, and then swallowed it. He seemed to motion to the other one, and then the other duck very slowly and awkwardly began to move toward the food. It took her a long time, as her leg and maybe even her wing were clearly injured. The other duck stood patiently by while she labored forward, finally reaching the small pile of food, and slowly she began to eat it. We stood there, stunned, humbled by the moment. These two ducks, still so far from the creek at the end of the street, one hale and hearty and the other injured, but they had stood together all this time, out of place on our busy suburban street. What had happened? Had they been traveling with a flock of ducks and the one had gotten hurt, the other stayed behind with her? And then both had been placed in danger there on the street corner, all because they decided to stay together. It didn't matter that one was injured and the other wasn't. It didn't matter that this journey back to the creek might take forever, or maybe the hurt one wouldn't make it through the night. We had wondered why they were there. We had joked about them even. And now we discovered that the reason why was so poignant, so touching that it took our breath away. We were silent during the rest of our walk. And we didn't see the ducks last night, even though we looked for them. I don't know if they made it home or not. I don't know the rest of their story. I just know they were committed to doing it together. And I know they belonged wherever they landed, even in the center of our neighborhood. Because anyone acting from caring for another, from love, belongs wherever they land, even if we don't know their full story, even if we underestimate the depth of those gifts and experience that they carry. Our job is to give them the welcome they deserve.